because you live on that block. But in the next block, they're gonna say, oh, sweetie, that's terrible. No, I hate that. You know, oh, but that doesn't mean they're gonna actually do something with you in the name of Amani United. Now, you might be able to get everybody in your block, or you might not, or whatever. You might call the city. You might do a lot of those things, because that's a grievance for you. That's a problem. But it may not be an issue in the community. Why this is important for you as leaders is you're going to have lots of people the whole time that you're elected leaders in Amani United. You're going to have people come up to you and tell you what they think are issues. And a lot of times what they're going to tell you is things that they think are a problem for them or a grievance they have that may not be an issue for everybody. So what are some other examples of how you sort out issues? Lead's been in these neighborhoods forever. This lead problem's not new. They took lead out of paint more than 30 years ago. People knew lead was dangerous. It's been poisoning children for a long time. Has it been an issue for all that time, or has it been a problem?
It's been a problem that has it been a problem that hasn't been addressed?
It's been an issue.
I say addressed properly.
It's been an issue. It's been a problem, but per that definition of the issue, it hasn't been seen as something that the community felt was important to tackle.
Exactly.
Correct.
So it's a problem, but not an issue.
So, a problem can be lead. Look, let's be honest, poverty is a problem.
Yes.
Not enough money. That's a problem. But right now, nobody seems to care that we don't have enough money. And it's a cinch. You know, this is a long time since Lyndon Baines Johnson. Poverty is not an issue for anybody other than ourselves. And I'm not sure how much it's really an issue for many of us anymore, because you don't see that much happening about the issues that face low-income people.
We accepted it as a reality, I guess. We normalized it.
And that's right. That's when it becomes you.
Change because you know it's normal now.
And that's the backwards process. This point that you're making is so vital. Is that that's when an issue all of a sudden becomes your personal grievance. So it's no longer an issue in the community or for a class of people or for everybody. It's all of a sudden being poor is your personal problem. Well, we all know in our heads that's not true.
Systematic.
I mean, it's absolutely systematic. Today, this I'm going to say on the front end, this seems crazy, but I'm going to tell you this is a true story. So, you have do you have Medicaid expansion yet? Didn't the last governor stopped it? Have we been able to get it in Wisconsin yet?
I know we got Medicaid, don't stop it, but I don't know about no expansion.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, under the Affordable Care Act, you know, I think the last governor in Wisconsin and the legislature were able to prevent the expansion to, you know, some 100,000 people in Wisconsin. And I think part of the program with your current governor is to change that, but and as near as I know, it hasn't happened yet. So in Arkansas, they did expand Medicaid under Affordable Care Act at the time that Obama put it in. The new governor is a Republican. Legislature is Republican. So he knows he can't get rid of the expansion because Arkansas is a dirt poor state. There are hundreds of thousands of people, not just 75,000, but hundreds of thousands of people benefit from this in Arkansas. And so that would be a political issue for him. So that healthcare expansion has become a political issue because it's very hard to ever take a benefit away from people. You can keep them from ever getting it, but once people get it, it's, you know, it's everybody's issue when you take it away. So what they did is, for the first time since 1965, they were able to get an exemption from Trump's Department of Health and Human Services to put in this fake work or volunteer requirement in order to get Medicaid. So you'd be eligible based on your income, but And here's the real trick part. Something like 30% of low-income people have no access to internet in Arkansas. It's one of the fewest connected states in the country. And obviously, lower-income families don't necessarily have the money to have a computer. So the way they kick people off is every 3 months, if you didn't report on the internet, on a computer, about whether you had a job or were doing volunteer work, you would be kicked off. So one, they did almost no publicity. A lot of people never knew about it until they went to the drugstore to get their prescription or get whatever, and boom, they found out you're off. You didn't. Two, a lot of people, because then when they first put the program to try to get rid of people, they didn't care that you would only internet reports. They didn't even think about the fact that it'd be people like us having to fill them out, and a lot of people couldn't do that. So, 6 months into the program, 18,000 people have been kicked off of Medicaid that they were eligible for based on their income. So they talked to the governor, and the governor said, you know, there's still no reporting. They didn't know if they did get jobs, they left, or just, you know, they took no responsibility. And so he said, he justified this policy by saying, if there was one, I gotta believe of those 18,000, there has to be one person who was really working, knew they were supposed to do the reports, and just didn't do the reports. So based on him thinking there might have been one person who was maybe a scam a little on Medicaid, 18,000 people don't have coverage. But is that an issue? I know it's a long story, but is that an issue?
I believe so, because it affects more than one person.
It affects more than one person, but now
Everyone's not.
everyone was able to reapply come January, and of the 18,000 people that were kicked out, only 1,800 reapplied. So
So it's a
the
problem.
governor says, well, you know, must not be a problem.
Must not be an issue, right?
Yeah,
It's definitely
it's
a
not a
problem.
problem for him. He's out there trying to, but to the degree people don't respond, and there's a lot of people who actually do not believe there is a welfare system in the United States right now. And there are people like that in Amani.
Who think it's not a welfare system?
Think that you can't get welfare. There's no way to apply for welfare. Does this sound crazy?
Yeah, somebody ain't working hard enough.
Resources.
Well, because part of what these departments do now is just turn so many people down, they don't think you can get welfare anymore. So there's, in a lot of, not necessarily, I don't know about Amani, a lot of low-income neighborhoods in the US now, the word on the street is, well, we can't get welfare. It's not worth the trouble. You'll never get it. Don't waste your bus money. If you can't get, you know, they just don't let people on welfare anymore. So a lot of people, there's a book I read recently about the number of people who are living on less than $2 a day in America. It's millions of people. And when these researchers interviewed people, the vast majority didn't even realize TANF existed. Because the rules are so curious every state, a lot of people don't know. The people who work there try to not take applications, just like they're doing in Arkansas in this Medicaid system. So these are huge problems. But so many people now believe this is their problem. This is just them. They can't get on. They don't realize, as Alex was saying, it's systemic. It could be a huge issue. It should be, as organizers, as leaders, this should be a huge issue. So why is it that people aren't just burning the streets down? Why are people not just, you know, rioting, going crazy? Why are people not just over the top, angry and crazed about all this?
Because most people aren't informed.
But what if they, you
Laziness.
think so?
Somewhat.
I think it's generational.
Don't care.
I wouldn't say it was generational.
Well, what do you mean by
I
that?
think they're lacking a leader.
That's right.
Because if a leader comes about and say, hey, let's all get together, let's do something about this, and they feel like they're not alone, they got somebody that got their back, then maybe then you will see a bunch of people burning up the streets.
Maybe.
And then I say that no one's want to lead, don't nobody want to lead themselves. They probably looking for a leader when the leader is themselves.
Yeah, I don't think, I think that was our big problem with like civil rights, is we need, when our leader failed, we failed.
We fail, so therefore we all gotta start leading ourselves as a unit. And that's more effective, because if we're all leaders, that means you gotta take us all out. Because if they take you out, now we back waiting for another leader again.
So one of the things in an organization, a community organization like Amani United that we focus on, is when we believe that we have an issue that you can build an organization on, we look for 3 critical ingredients, okay? One is whether or not it's specific. In poverty, that's not specific. Everybody could believe that. We all benefit from it. We could all agree intellectually in our gut that it's serious, but there's no way. How do you win an end to poverty? So specific is that process in which you would be breaking down, you know, the issue so that you could tackle specific parts of it, like how do people get on welfare? And if the welfare office isn't approving people, is there something we can do? Is there a campaign we can create? All these things have to do with constructs on a campaign. Go ahead.
What did you just put up there?
Specific.
No.
Those are arrows.
I don't know if I.
These are examples of how you would look for what we call handles.
Okay.
Things that are specific, either, and we're gonna talk about research. I heard y'all talking about research a second ago. Sometimes you can find specific handles within an issue that might be able to move people into collective action to create a campaign.
Yeah, like an unspoken rule with W-2 that they're supposed to deny you. Initially, they're supposed to deny you.
In welfare.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just wrong.
Wait, what is unspoken rule is that they're supposed to deny you. Anybody that says you come, they're supposed to
That's
deny
actually
you.
against the law.
Why?
Wait, what? And that's why it's unspoken.
Right.
Well, that's true.
And if
I
you
can
could
speak
prove
to
that,
I
that
can
would be a
prove it right
handle.
now. So when I had my son, wasn't working, needed a little bit more income than I had, and I applied, and it was like no, because we need to know like all your history for the dad, like all his income and all that stuff like that. So they told me no, that they wasn't going to give me any benefits or whatever.
And you probably told them there was no way you could get all that information.
Mm-hmm. And so they were like, okay, you gotta, they basically said same thing, figure it out, like find it. I'm like, oh well, just want to go give me a job.
That's
And
what
that's
it is. They
exactly
want you
the
to
point
give
I
up.
was making.
Mhm.
That's exactly
Mhm.
how they've
Now I
reduced,
get,
they've
Right.
reduced the welfare rolls from something like 11 million to 4 million throughout this process. And a lot of the way, and people have gotten poorer.
mm-hmm.
That's the truth. Those are statistics. But exactly your experience, they make it so. So what are you gonna do? Go back there 5 times to try to get that little bit of money? No,
Right.
you know. People, and then you're gonna tell the story to somebody else. Well, yeah, you go try, sister, but this is what happened to me.
Yeah.
And so then all of a sudden
Yeah.
they're gonna say, why am I, hey,
Yeah.
she couldn't get it. Why do I think I can get it? Because my old man, I don't even know where the frick he is. No, I'm supposed to come up with his income, and it goes on and on like that.
Anybody that comes to me, I tell them right away, they can't deny you. Regardless of what they say, as long as you have a barrier, they cannot deny you.
What do you mean by a barrier? I used to be assistant, working with the W-2 office. What do you mean by a barrier?
Pending homelessness, jobless, anything that would hinder you from succeeding, anything that would stop you from being self-sufficient.
Signing up for state benefits that's receiving W-2, you have to have an address unless you're using someone else's address.
Right.
Okay. That's why even at the food stamp office here, they also, if you say you're homeless, they let you know that you can have your mail sent to Tweetenbelit using their address. But if you don't have no address, you cannot sign up for W-2. They is not going to give you a W-2 check and you ain't even got a stable place for you or your child. So I used to do intake.
Even if you do sign up.
And who wants to
they
think
can't
about
issue-
what it's like to try to apply for a job when you can't give them an address? Or if the address you're giving them is the Dominican Center or a shelter.
And see,
How do you
the
think
way
your chances
around,
are of getting that job?
the way around that, what she just said, is just like you said. All they gotta do is use a family member's address.
That's right, you have to. I used to be an
But,
intake worker.
you know.
But even then, when you
it's-
do that, you're put on a wait list for 3 months, so the services don't come immediately. There are
Right.
like almost any of the services for the city right now are no less than 3 months long, waiting, so.
And look, and you're 18 years old and you just had a baby and you ran around with this guy and whatever, you may not have a family member willing to give you an address right that minute.
Yeah, because maybe you're gonna burn your bridges with them, so now your bridges
That's what I'm
burned.
saying, like.
But now you're in this position where you absolutely need the help, because you have a little one looking at you like, I gotta eat, I gotta do this.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I get
And
it.
all these things are wrong.
Maybe you just don't
There's no
have
question,
any
and you're not necessarily gonna have a caseworker like you
Mm-hmm.
to tell you, here's how you fix this problem. If
Yeah,
you've got a caseworker who's following what the,
the guidelines are, whatever, the
I
rules.
mean, Scott Walker was very clear, and the rest of them, he didn't want you on welfare. So if you just want to be a loyal state employee and you're, trying to get ahead, you're not gonna go out of your way to help somebody get more welfare.
Why they shot a lot of us down, OIC down at the time. Oh, geez, those scammers, you remember that? OIC and Martin Luther King?
And then you have, as you say, now they put waiting periods on it.
Yeah.
You're desperate for a place to live, a place to go, food, whatever. What are you gonna do? So, specific is important. We're gonna come back to this, because now I feel like now we're getting into the original thing that I was talking about. But we're gonna go ahead and finish this because it's hanging out looking at you.
Yeah.
I'm messy like that.
Ooh, I'm messy like that too.
Okay, so watch out, you better watch me. So besides specific, it's gotta be immediate.
Something that can take effect ASAP, huh?
If you want people to take action, you have to be able to define the issue, or in organizing slang is cut the issue. You need to be able to define that issue so that there's no question, if you want to respond to that issue, you've got to take action now. It can't be, let's get a committee, let's do a planning process, let's see, who we talk to, let's, no, it's gotta be, you're at the meeting, you're at a Saturday meeting, you're running the meeting, you're the leaders, you're talking about an issue, you've got to have people understand that they need to make a decision. They can vote no, but they need to make a decision now about an immediate action, because if you don't take action, there are going to be consequences. It's got to matter. It's got to be something immediate. Like, we know that people are getting turned down from welfare. We've got 10 members in Amani who just got turned down the last 2 weeks. We know it happened at that office. We need to take everybody down there to that office with these 10 people and demand that they reopen those cases.
That's right. They wanna do it.
We're gonna get them to do it.
We gotta get them to do it.
The way you're gonna get them to do it,
Yes.
leaders, is by making sure you're not talking out there in the clouds and the committee work. You're saying, look, here's what we can do, here's why it has to be done now. Because what you want people to do is take collective action. And here, okay, so I like this SIR because people can remember it, so I'm kind of shoving too big a fat foot into a shoe. So the R is realizable. Now, what in the heck does realizable mean? Well, it means winnable.
Rentable?
Winnable.
Rentable.
Winnable, not
Losing
losable.
word.
Winnable.
Win.
We're gonna win.
Man.
I never heard those words before.
That's why you're. That's why you're sitting in here, Alex.
Okay.
You know.
I learned something new
Specific,
today.
immediate, realizable. In other words, but
Realizable and-
so whatever you've heard, people who want to build power learn about building power by winning, not by losing. Everybody in our constituency has spent a lifetime, there are generations in which we have lost. Our character is great. So if you want to say, oh, well, we'll really learn something from losing and it'll improve our character, no, our character's good. We just have to win. So you need to make sure when you're trying to construct an understanding of this issue that you're specific, exactly what it is on that issue you think we need to take action on, that the action you're recommending is now, that it's immediate, and you have to be convincing that there's a way to win it. That if we take that action now and we move ASAP, quickly, then we have a chance of winning. And here's the other thing about, and we'll get this into this in campaigns. How we built an organization like ACORN is that once you do these things, you can't quit until you win. So there can't be any quit in it. I mean, they have to, part of what we want to come out of all these sessions, at least this is part of what I want, is an understanding in Amani that once, and we'll go through this time after time, is that we want power to be defined as an understanding that when Amani takes on an issue, you will not quit until you win. And once you can prove that, it makes all the rest of the targets easier. Then there's no, oh, we'll put them off, we'll give them a little head fake, we'll give them a $3,000 grant to go clean up a street somewhere, we'll give them a little, sugar in their coffee, blah, blah, blah. I don't need to tell you. So every issue for a community organization needs to go through this kind of filter, whether or not it's specific, immediate, and realizable. Now, you put all those things together, you can move on to bigger and bigger campaigns. So here's one of the knocks on what you do, what I do, whatever. Oh, those issues are too small. That's about, getting, these speed bumps on the streets in Amani, or these, stupid little signs saying, little stop signs, whatever. That's not real, brother. That's not real stuff, No. You win one in order to win something bigger, in order to win something bigger, in order to win something bigger.
It's like they always want to start at the big
These are
issue.
building blocks, yeah.
Build.
Exactly.
Crawl before you walk.
Because remember, your audience is your membership. And you want your membership to understand that if they actually do come and take action with you, and we'll go through that something then happens. So it was worth them coming to the meeting. It was worth them coming out that evening, that afternoon, that Saturday to take action. Because you won something. And even though, hey, downtown, City Hall, all they want is this little bitty thing. A political scientist at Cornell University in New York did a study on a number of community organizations and other social movements. And one of the organizations they looked at was ours, ACORN. And what they found is a history of dealing with specific and small issues built the kind of organizational loyalty and commitment that allowed us to do the bigger issues. So those social movements that just said, climate change, we're going for it. Come out here, we're gonna go, we're gonna go, the Sunrise people, Sunrise movement, sitting in at Nancy Pelosi's office or, O'Connell. Well, yeah, but if you want to sustain it for a long time, and here in Amani, look, let's be honest, the issues are deep. All of them will take a long time to win. You need to build loyalty and commitment for your members. So you don't worry about whether it's small. You can build up to larger issues.
Yes, you can.
By winning. So, same thing. You start if we were talking about welfare again, we all of a sudden did this campaign and got 10 people on welfare. All of a sudden, you'd have a line outside of people wanting to talk to Amani about the problems with welfare. And so if you were trying to figure out how to raise welfare benefits, eventually, as you looked at those issues, targeted those offices, looked at the rules they're breaking, looked at the barriers or whatever handles you had, you might be able to make a demand that said welfare benefits are able to be moved. But if all we said was, hey, welfare, they need to pay more welfare, that's hard to win. because they don't wanna do that. They want you to get a job. And what do you do if there are no jobs? What if you do even worse? When I was telling you that Medicaid story, 60% of the people on Medicaid, even at the lowest income level, have a job, full-time job.
Sure.
So they already know when they create these rules that people are on a job. So they know they're kicking people off who just are eligible, but the job doesn't pay any money.
Not enough.
Well, what's the minimum wage in Wisconsin?
725.
725.
Yes.
For real?
She like she.
Hell, I ain't know.
He's always been
Oh, man,
725.
Where have you been? Let me tell you, that's not a new thing. That's been here since 2008. That was the last thing Bush did.
Wish a what?
Yeah.
Wish a what?
Okay, so here,
Minimum wage been 725 since the
oh,
70s.
we're gonna learn some stuff here. So keep in mind, full-time work is 2,080 hours.
Yes.
You work 52 weeks a year, 40 hours, that's 2080,
I don't know.
okay? 725,
Wonder why my kids don't want to get a job.
now, is that a personal problem, a grievance, or an
It's a grievance,
issue?
a person problem, and an issue.
It's not an issue yet, it's only an issue for you.
You right, so they love to live lives. You should see them with the gold in the mouth. Real now. 725. I don't want to work either.
Just hold on to it, just.
No, that's why you here to teach us. You here to let us go in there complaining, campaigning. I'm gonna take about 5 or 6 other people with me. Y'all don't even know me. Come on, just go up in this office and I just make a big issue. Y'all just agree with everything I say. I pay everybody $20. Come on, y'all.
So if you're working full-time, this is about what you're making, 15,000 bucks and change.
Nothing.
The year round.
Yeah, that's a year.
Wow.
After
And that-
taxes,
That's before taxes,
Wow.
because taxes,
Now do your rent.
10,000.
Times.
taxes
Your
are
rent probably more
usually
than what you're making.
25 to 30%. So that's minus,
minus,
I'm gonna say 25% to be a liberal. So now, you only have about 10 grand to spend. If you're working, busting your ass
Yeah,
for
busting.
minimum wage,
Yeah.
you're at the Mickey D. Now, I know they raised it to 9, they're saying they're going.
When?
Yeah,
I
they
having to
raised it.
bring all
My
y'all
brother,
the
he just
news
started-
about wages? Oh,
No,
come on
my brother
now.
just started this past summer and they paid him $8.25.
That's good. What?
But they say they're moving everybody to 9 and 10.
And he work
Okay.
at McDonald's. Yeah.
Yeah.
They gonna get a raise, I think, this year. Yeah.
See? Yeah, no, I mean, it's in
And
the
they wonder
paper.
why people
I mean, even Walmart starts at 11 now.
Yeah, Walmart. And when
Walmart,
I
yeah.
had started at Walmart,
they make pretty
5
good.
years ago when I first started, they only paid me $8. But now they starting at $11.50 per hour, and I hire
I
people
was thinking
at
12
$11.50
an
per hour.
hour.
And these are people that's in their 30s and 40s, have 5, 6 kids, and they work for $11.
Steal everything in the store.
So you now know that's like less than 22,000 a year.
Yeah.
So it's better than 15,000,
Yeah, it's better,
but
but
for 22,000 a year, can you raise 4 or 5 kids? No, that's not a lot of money.
now I'm looking back like, how did my mom do it with 4 kids?
Oh my God.
I'm
Like
looking
how-
back, how did
like how
I do it
does
with
she-
9?
Yeah.
We're not looking back very far, we're looking right here
Looking
now.
at the numbers and I was just making like, it's just like a
hey,
bean.
y'all don't know how magical y'all is.
That's crazy.
But here, look, but what's happened to the rent? When you look at how your mama did it, what she paying, how much of your income, somebody said, you said, I think, how you pay the rent. Well, what's the rent now?
Average about, say, 650.
I'll say 650 is
Average.
average. Average.
If you want somewhere nice, you paying 700 plus.
Yeah, but 650, we saying that's like,
Yeah, that's average,
That's
because
average.
you wanna stay in a little low gutter house, the landlord ain't taking care of it,
Yeah.
you want at least 650, 600.
that's just
So-
lease.
So
I
the
see
average.
some of them 500, 550.
Yeah.
That's
No,
like
something
a-
probably the city
that's like a-
don't.
But
That's something
you
here.
know, in Milwaukee, just so we're clear, in Milwaukee, average rent now is almost twice this.
Yes, 1,200. That's the average median.
So that's the median.
Yeah, mine's
So
775.
when we're talking about this, 650, 700, let's just be clear, we are at the bottom of the barrel, trying to find any old little place people talking about, right? But even so, look, let's say 700 just to get the math simple. 700 times 12 is what?
8,400.
Yeah, I know.
Smoke what though?
You are left with
And look how much
Okay,
money-
so how much we got left now?
1,600.
I don't even count that 16.
Here's something I noticed when we do this.
Clothes from Goodwill.
When
Well, how about food?
most of
Yeah,
our
how you gonna
sisters
eat?
who are living by themselves, they ain't really got that significant other, without the aid of what they get through the state, the food stamps, it'll be very, 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 very hard on them. Cause I just studied from what my sister goes through and how I help her. I'm like, wow, if she didn't have the assistance of me, she'd kind of be in trouble. Cause the job isn't
And
enough.
let's talk about our people. So, what, you can't really pay your utility bill with food stamps.
That's where the problem comes
That's
in.
why you see
I
them
can
trucks.
manage
You can't
everything
really
else.
pay
I
that
can
rent thing with
everything
food. You can't buy
The
school
energy.
uniform with,
else.
you can't buy books for the schools with
Why
food
people
stamps.
bust them down?
I just
So,
looked at my
how you trying to do with the food stamps? So,
They sell them.
you're selling them,
They sell them for cash.
They
selling them for cash.
They do.
Yeah.
So, who here knows where you can do that?
I'm looking to buy some now.
Okay, and what's the discount rate, 50%?
Half,
50%.
yeah. So you get 100 for 50.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Complete
no.
rip off if you ask me.
And so what does that take? Food out of your mouth.
Yeah.
So to get the cash,
So
you're
at the
giving
end of the month,
$100
now
in
you
food
spending more
stamps.
money.
That's $100 you can't buy in food. You only got 50 for food then, so that you got 50 to pay utilities, and that's cash.
Yeah, and that's where the unhealthy come in at. 'Cause
And
now
here's-
I'm feeding my kids McDonald's at the end of the month, or Burger King, or grabbing them this, that, or other at the end of the month because I don't got the money to go to the grocery store and buy a whole meal. I just got like enough to get you a burger and fries for the day, like.
And so, yeah. So
That's
then they
really
want
how
to
it
tell
works.
you about whether or not that's healthy. Well, who cares? At least that's food.
That's what I'm saying. They don't care if it's healthy or not for the kids. They like,
Same
oh,
thing
it's
with
food.
ramen. They eating.
Some ramen noodles.
Yeah.
That's the same thing with
Buy a
ramen.
pack of ramen
And
noodles.
so,
They eat.
but thank God you're living in a city. Does anybody have country cousin relatives?
We ain't Chinese.
Because you don't get 50% on food stamps if you're in, Sunflower County, Mississippi, or, somewhere in South Arkansas. Then you're lucky to get 40 cents on a dollar, 35 cents on a dollar for food stamps. Don't ask me, I know.
That's right.
Because this is what I've done for 50 years, is organize low-income people, right? So, yeah. So look, are these issues?
Yes. Well, they haven't been made an
Them
issue.
problems.
Are they
Problem.
issue? They're huge problems.
So they're not issues yet, because no one's tackling them.
So look, I think you all know a little bit about my story from last time. So I started as an organizer
Yes, you did.
with welfare rights. So yeah, I still know about welfare. And this is what pains my soul is if I looked at almost 50 years of organizing, welfare recipients, if anything, are in worse shape today than when I started. But the heart of welfare rights is taking exactly these things. Everybody thought it was a personal problem if they didn't have any money. And we had to convert that personal problem on welfare to a political issue.
Turn personal to political, huh?
Right. And how do you do that? This is the heart of why we look at issues like we do. Is partially, in that case, we were clear to people about the fact that it wasn't the state doing them a favor to give them welfare. It was an entitlement. They had the right to it. It was the law. So why are you ashamed to be on welfare? I mean, if you were white living in the suburbs and had 3 kids and the old man left, boom. Get alimony, get whatever. But if that happens to you and you're living in the north end of Springfield, or I can name a million neighborhoods, then all of a sudden you're on welfare. You got, 3 kids below 7 years old. What you gonna do? And that was then, not now. So part of what this is involved in this process of convincing people that their personal problem is an issue. Remember, that's what we're all about, is talking about the issues. is also not only looking at, we talked before about handles, but it also has to do with their rights, because the law itself provides some rights. Does everybody know what an entitlement is? You know, when you read in the papers about whether or not something is an entitlement or a benefit, for example.
Can I say entitlement is supposed to be kind of like God-given?
Well, it's government given.
Well, it was government given, but on the premises of supposed to be God-given?
No, they don't care about God.
Well, that means it's just a fancy word for a privilege that I'm finna give you then.
Well, here's,
Benefit.
okay, so is anybody
You deserve.
familiar with LAHEAP? You know, Energy Assistance Plan?
Nope.
Does anybody even know that there is an energy assistance program here in Milwaukee? All
I
over
know
the
there's
country?
energy
Yeah.
assistance, but I didn't know it was called my.
Yeah, I just thought it was a good system.
What is it?
It's a low pilot
You talking
program.
about the LIP?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Low
That's
pilot,
what I- okay,
yeah.
okay.
What do you call it here?
The low pilot program,
What is that here?
that's.
The low income pilot program. It, yeah, I was on that.
Okay, so there's a federal program,
They kick you off quick.
a federal program called LAHEAP.
Yeah, like he.
Energy Assistance Program is what the EAP part of that was, and I can't remember what the LH is. But that is not an entitlement, because there's a cap. So every state has an amount they get out of this federal allocation for LAHEAP. So it's first come, first serve.
True.
If all of a sudden, let's say because of the polar vortex, people had problems paying their utility bill, and there's a rule maybe in Wisconsin, they can't shut you off if you can't pay, if there's, you know, below a certain temperature or something like that. You go down and get the, you know, energy assistance program money. That money may not last 12 months. It could be gone by June.